Hey guys, as promised, I'm doing a review of the Bora Portamate PM-1100, and it's a universal mobile base kit. This is so you can move things around your shop or wherever that are rather heavy. These apparently have a capacity up to 400 pounds. I think that's dependent on the plywood that you're using, so I'm sure that just rates the assembly itself. The instructions that come with this are not great. The pictures are rather small. There's a couple of parts that are missing. It's very minor. We talked about lock washers. I have some, but they don't ship any with the kit, so I'll be supplying my own lock washers. Those are really, really cheap. I would not let that discourage you from buying it, but just be aware of some pitfalls with the assembly on this thing, that the instructions are not fantastic. This will walk you through it though, so if you do end up buying this, I'm going to show you how to put this thing together. So our first step is we have this stopper, or glide foot as they like to call it, and we're going to thread it into this large bracket here. And there are two nuts that are about this size. One of them has a shoulder. One does not. Use the one without the shoulder. And just loosely thread it on there. This needs to be adjustable, so I would not tighten this down in any way. Just leave it like that. The next part of our assembly deals with attaching this wheel, the one with the bearing that rotates, to this swivel plate. So let's go ahead and do that right now. This is the nut that has the shoulder on it. So we're going to feed this up from the side that doesn't have the shoulders on it here. So just hand tighten the thing, that's good enough. In this step, we're going to be attaching this swivel plate to the large rotating bracket assembly. So this is also where you're going to need the lock washer. They do not supply. So carriage bolts, if you don't know, they're square. We're going to feed it through this side into the hole here, down through the swivel plate, out the other side, put on our lock washer with the nylon nuts here. Okay, the first part of that is done. Now what we need to do is we've got the foot lever. And the foot lever rides in this area, and there are a couple of components you're going to need for this part. Start feeding the carriage bolt through the other side. Don't go all the way. Nylon washer. Foot lever. Now don't go all the way through, because the next part, we need to put the other nylon washer on the other side. So let's see if we can get this. Carriage bolt is seated all the way through. Okay, this part is pretty much done other than tightening some bolts down. Very little play here. First, kind of the concept is when this is resting on the ground, This is what adjusts the height and kind of the stopping point. And then when you need to move it, you step on it. And when I'm doing it here on the table, of course, this is being held down. But if the whole thing is held up by a piece of plywood on 4 corners, when you push this, it's going to lift that up. And now you can roll this wherever you need to roll it. In the next part of this assembly, we have the other style of corner bracket here. This wheel mounted here, and there's an axle, screw, bolt, another smaller nylon nut, and a couple of nylon washers. So you'll see that that's designed for the axle bolt to right in that little recess. Similar to the other side with those carriage bolts, feed a nylon washer. Just run it through the wheel. And then this part is a little bit tougher. These nylon washers are a lot smaller. Wow. Almost immediately got that through there. I'm genuinely surprised. All right, let's go ahead. Put our bolt on this side. Phillips screwdriver. This, my friends, is where the rubber meets the road. I've ripped down the piece of plywood. And now I'm going to start attaching brackets. Concept is this. Piece of plywood gets sandwiched between the brackets that you've assembled, and then they have a plate. Screw runs down through the top of this, through the plywood, and into these threaded holes on the bottom of this bracket. So what we want to do is mark our holes on our plywood, drill them, and then we're going to run our screws through with the plate so it's creating a sandwich. This is the bread, that's the meat. And there you have it, my friends. You're going to repeat this process for the other side on the static wheel, as well as the other 2 assemblies that need to be put together, those 2 brackets. So the instructions talk about the alignment or the orientation of these brackets and how to make them best work. You go ahead and decide how you want to make it work. This is the one that I'm using for my bench grinder. It's very stable, and I'm very happy with this. Do it.